Hey, we're here at the Coconut 06 Ranch in West Texas, and man, it's early morning, and we're getting ready to head out with the rest of the cowboys, and we've got horses already up at the next place. We're going to gather cattle today and rope and drag calves. So as you can see, the sun's not up even yet, and we've already had breakfast, but we're heading out to go and get this day started. So it's going to be a pretty day. Man, it's going to be an awesome show. This is Cowboy Authentic. Rod, how long have you been cow boss here?
I've been here full time 22 years.
22 years. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
wow. Wow.
Longest I've ever stayed anywhere.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
We've had several foremen here, and I don't know what number Rod is. I'd have to count back, but he's really made a good foreman.
Thank you.
Knows what he's doing. Really is helpful to me. It just runs a lot smoother. It gets better and better all the time.
After 22 years, we're about to figure it out.
Just about.
Hopefully.
You bet. This is a beautiful country. You can't work this kind of country and see all that's been created here and not know that there's a God in heaven. Ray, you have cowboyed here at the Coconut for 31 or 32 years.
Yes, sir.
And I know you said this morning it was kind of a tough thing to watch these cowboys ride out, and you weren't riding out with them.
It's real tough. You know, I used to ride in the lead of this remuda all the time, and I had 4 or 5 thoroughbred horses of my own, and I would ride one of them, and those others would just latch on to him, and they wouldn't go past him, and they made a good lead for the remuda. And I thought for several years this remuda couldn't move if I wasn't in front of them, but I found out they make it just fine without me.
You had an accident last year that kind of prevented you from riding this year.
I broke a couple of vertebrae in my neck, and they welded them back together. They don't hurt, but I can't do much. And then my left leg is crippled up so bad I can't hardly get on a horse. And I hate to stop, but I will never draw a check that I haven't earned. I never have, and I'm never going to.
Well, we can learn a lot from that in our culture today, in the society we live in, for sure. No question about that.
People are not teaching their kids. You know, them kids are born the same as you or me or our grandparents was. It's how they're treated after they're born that makes something out of them, whether good or bad.
Yeah, that work ethic and that whole philosophy of not getting something for nothing is a cowboy way of life.
Yeah, it is. You know, if a cowboy don't make a hand right, they'll tell him to roll his bed and he's gone.
You know, something I've learned about cowboys too is cowboys are well, they never want a hand out, but they're always willing to give you a hand up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You see these people. Did you see Chet and Sam packed my bed over and threw it in there because that thing weighs 100 pounds and they're taking pity on me.
They're just helping you out because they care about you, right?
You know, I knew an old trapper one time. He said, you can't eat but one egg at a time, so there's no use in having two. but it isn't a lucrative job. Anyone that is punching cows for money is mentally retarded because you never will make any money at it, but it's a wonderful way of life, and the men that you work with and livestock, you know, horses are a lot more honest than people. I knew an old cowboy named Sonny Hancock. He was born in northern Arizona, but he ran the ZX in Oregon for years, a big outfit, you know, run 20-some-odd thousand head of cattle, and we were visiting. I said, Sonny, I've known a lot more sorry men than I have horses, haven't you? And he said, yes. And then we agreed that most of the horses we called sorry had been made sorry by a sorry man. They weren't born sorry.
Wow, there's a lot. Well, that's a mouthful right there. You know, Ray, I really firmly believe that if our country would just look at the cowboy culture, there's a lot of things within our culture that could help bring healing to our country. And, you know, where do you see our country going? And after you answer that, just let me know, where would you like to see a change in our country? Where would you like to see the direction change if that's the case?
Well, if it keeps going like it is, we've got nothing. It's a downhill slope. We have seen a tremendous deterioration in the last 80 years, and it's gotten a whole lot worse in the last 20 or 30 years. And what I would like to see us do is get back to the Constitution and do like our founding fathers. They created the finest country in the world. No other country has had the blessings that the United States have had, and it is because God allowed it. And if we ignore God, we're going to pay the price for it.
Yeah, I think we're already starting to see
we
that.
are paying the price for it. And our kids, our young folks, like we said earlier, they're not being taught. You see them when they interview people and ask them things about the Constitution, and they don't have a clue what they're talking about, and they're not even interested.
Yeah.
I can understand someone not knowing everything, but you should be interested enough to try and find out anyway.
You bet. The truth is, my firm belief is this, that the only hope for America is God.
It is.
You know, if this nation doesn't turn itself back to doing what it did at the beginning, and really, repent, turn back to God, I don't see any hope for America, only through God.
You can read in the Old Testament, God told them Jews what to do, and they would pay attention to him for a little while, and then they would go backwards, and he would tolerate them for long periods of time, warning them, saying, clean up your act, or I'm going to jerk a knot in your tail, and they wouldn't do it. And so then he would, and then after they'd been spent anywhere from 70 to 400 years in exile, they would finally repent and come back to God, and he would immediately bless them, and in no time at all they would double cross him again and go right back to being human beings again.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to be just kind of blunt here. I really believe that the only hope for this country is God. And I know for some people that might be watching, that might be kind of hard for you to take and swallow, but I'm just telling you what I believe the truth is through God's word. And Ray, I think you're right on. If this country just turned its heart back to God and began to follow after him, I believe we'd begin to see a healing in this nation and things turn around.
God is everywhere. You don't have to be in a church to find God. If your church isn't wherever you happen to be, it ain't going to do you any good to go to some fancy building.
Yeah.
A church building is nothing but a building. The church is the people. And if they're not with God, it still ain't a church.
You're exactly right.
You just got to watch the federal government all the time.
Yeah, they're wanting to be bigger than they should be. I think they've forgotten that they're elected by the people, for the people, and of the people. I think that's something that's been forgotten. I think we're just a generation away from them not really realizing what government's for. It's important, but it's there for us, not us there for them.
Every time they go up to Washington, they forget a lot of things, don't they?
They do.
American cowboys are known for being hardworking, tough, and true. At the end of everyone's life, we all ride off into that sunset of eternity. When answering to our Creator, it won't matter how we measure up by our standards, but how we measure up to Christ. Have you asked Jesus to take the reins of your life? To locate or start a cowboy church near you, visit AmericanFCC.org.
If you value the rural lifestyle, there's no better place to live than a log home. I'm Sam Satterwhite. My company, Satterwhite Log Homes, is in our 40th year. We're an American family business, and over 15,000 families live in Satterwhite Log Homes. We believe in delivering a superb product at a fair price, something you can be proud of today and proud to pass along to future generations. Satterwhite Log Homes is easy to find on the internet or visit our offices in Texas, Utah, or Georgia. Come see us soon.
Spur's Big Fix Wound, Skin, and Hoof is an all-inclusive topical antiseptic spray that is simple and effective. It's all natural, made in the USA, and comes with a money-back guarantee. Use Spur's Big Fix to treat cuts, scrapes, wounds, rain rot, and other fungal issues. Spur's Big Fix treats thrush and white line disease while conditioning and restoring flexibility in the hoof. Spur's Big Fix. The more you use it, the more you'll love it.
You know, today is a great day for perseverance. Wind's blowing really, really hard today. Moved up here to a new area. It's cold out this morning, and you know, it's been a good morning, but it's taking some perseverance today. And you can see all these cattle are trying to rope and drag to 3 different crews today, so it's going pretty quick as well. Taylor, why is being a cowboy so important to you, and what does it mean to you to live the cowboy way of life?
To be a cowboy for me is and living the way of this life is the wide open spaces and the freedom that it offers, and being close to God, I guess. I feel, you feel like you're closer to God here than anywhere else. And just the freedom, I mean, what it gives you to do, and it's what you love. It's what I love.
I go by Sam Dove. Everybody knows me as Sam, S-A-M-D-O-V-E, just like a bird. Yeah. And what I do for a living is I guess I'm just a professional cowboy. It's all I do. Years past, I've run some of the bigger outfits in this part of the country, neighbored here, and 2 or 3 pretty good-sized outfits. And, I grew up a young man trying to move up the ladder, and had the camp jobs, went on to foreman and all that stuff, and ran 2 or 3 real big outfits, had a big time, and I don't know, I got to a point where I just wanted to go back just to punching cows and get out of the whole, the corporate end of it, and just go back to punching cows and riding horses. So I sell a few horses, and just they work for a living, basically.
What do you think about stewardship, and what does it mean to be a good steward to you as a cowboy?
To be a good steward to me would be to, we take care of our livestock, and a lot of people get it wrong. They think cowboys are rough, on their stock, but it's just like a mechanic with his tools, or a carpenter. We have to take care of our tools. We have to take care of our horses. We have to take care of our cattle. I mean, if we don't take care of them, they don't produce for us. So to me, to being a good steward is taking care of, our horses and our cattle and our land. And I think a lot of people get that mixed up and think that cowboys are just rough on everything, and it's not. If they really came out and watched, they would realize that it's not that way. I mean, we do care, and there's times when we have to be rough and do things, but it's for the better. It's for the better.
Day work, you could select where you go. You're not going to make any money doing this. I sell 3 or 4 horses a year for good money, and that's basically, my wife does a little substitute teaching, and behind every good man there's a working woman, but I just have fun, I enjoy life, and I always have, and now I'm old enough that everybody says, well, I'm semi-retired. If that's the case, I've been semi-retired my whole life, because I just have fun. I do what I like to do, and enjoy every minute of it, and take nothing for granted.
I believe that it is slipping. The cowboy way of life is slipping away. I mean, and it's sad. But to me, there's not many ranches that do it anymore. And a lot of ranches just go to hunting because there's more money. It becomes a money deal, and in the future, I don't know. I don't know if my son will have the same opportunities that I did and my dad did, and growing up. And I know from what I've done, it's changed from whenever I've been, from what I can remember. And I think it is slipping, and there's not any young generation's not coming up because there's not the money in it. They'd rather go to the oil field where there's money or something like that. And it's hard work. I mean, there's times when it's not fun, when the wind's blowing and, it's raining and snowing on you. It's not fun, but it's what you do. I mean, if you love it, it's what you do.
Well, I'd really like my wife to think that I'm really suffering out here, but as you can see, we're having prime rib. We've got fries, cake, we've got salad, and they've got some great cooks here. There's no question about that. They're gonna make sure these cowboys have lots of energy and a full belly before they go to bed tonight. So, sorry, honey, I'm not gonna be roughing it near as bad as you thought I was.
Subscribe to Traveling Partners magazine for interesting stories about the cowboy culture, historic stories on ranching, and just plain funny stuff. This magazine is inspirational, written about men all across the country who cowboy for a living with old-fashioned sense. Traveling Partners, a magazine for the cowboy culture.
I'm John Riggs. I'm a cowboy, I'm a preacher. I love God and I love America. And I see them both at their best out where the men work to feed all their families. It's rough, it's raw, it's real. Come experience the enduring character of the men and the land as we cowboy authentic.
Talking about that, I call it the 3 Ps. It's patience, perseverance, and persistency.
And persistent.
I wrote this little poem probably 20 years ago, and I call it Horseback Religion. It's just a little bit of my personal testimony, but I think that a lot of it will fit most any horseback man. That's what I call it, it's horseback religion. Now, a cowboy makes his living a horseback, and most Sundays he's on the range. To the preacher and the deacons, this may seem a little strange, but he don't miss a chance to worship just because he's not in town. God built the range he works on, and he sees him all around. When the snow melts in the spring and the grass starts coming on, it renews the cowboy's spirit like the night gives way to dawn. He looks out over his horse's ears and watches the sun come up. God's building a new day around him, and it sure enough fills his cup. He watches a wild old range cow as she licks her newborn calf. That's God working before his eyes, and it beats the city 1.5 miles. There's wildlife all around him, all following nature's course. No man lives closer to God than the one who does it on a horse. Now, a cowboy's wild and reckless. He may not stop to count the cost, but he knows his maker better than some that think he's lost. A good cowboy won't mistreat a horse or let his company down. He won't lie about what he's done, but he may jar loose when he's in town. He'll ask the Lord's forgiveness, the same as all the rest, then rope his morning horse and try to do his best. A top hand won't ask no favors. He takes the good right with the bad, and he knows he won't face anything as tough as the Savior had. He works in constant danger and takes chances every day, but the Lord is right there with him as he shows and lights the way. I've been pinned down under snaky broncs with no one around to lend a hand, and come out just scratched and bruised, so I knew that God was in command. When I watch wild horses running with an old mare in the lead, my throat gets tight and my heart beats fast as God fills my special need. You can't stack money high enough to buy what God has done for me when he made me a buckaroo and sent his son to set me free. As I ride across God's country with his handiwork all in view, my old Hamley saddle makes a plumb good cowboy pew. So as I work cows here on earth, I'm never at a loss, and I'll make that final roundup where Christ is wagon boss.
It's just really a matter of time before, this may not be something that you just get to experience or see very often. The cowboy life is changing just because the way that our world is changing. In fact, the places are getting broke up, they're smaller, they're the family places like the 06 here that they've held it together, and it's a great big outfit. It's getting more difficult and more difficult to hang on and hold on. And the sad thing for me is that in our society today, for many people, the dollar is what drives them. And a place like this, to see a family that has worked hard to hold it together, I really appreciate that they see the value in what they have here. What's it like to be a day worker?
Well, day working, years ago when I was a young man and I first came to this country, of course I fell in love with the country. This was in the 70s when I was a child practically. And I always wanted to know what was over the hill and whatever outfit was like. And so my goal when I came out here finally to college was to work my way everywhere I could, and started here and went all the neighboring ranches and got to know a lot of this country. I've horsebacked 90% of the country out here at one time or another. And I just wanted to see what was there. And then, later on, steady jobs came and went, and they were great and good and the good things about them. But now I'm back to just day working. And when I was a kid, I said, go to all these places and see how everybody does things differently. And you'll see many, many different ways of doing the same job. And I thought, if you'll just go and take the good things, every place you go, something that really works, and weed out those bad things, after a few years, you'll kind of develop in your mind, whatever happens, what will work. But, I've been in that position a time or two when the boss, somebody said, what do you think we ought to do? And I'll say, well, I don't know what will really work, but I know 2 or 3 things that will not work at all, because I've seen them tried, But then sometimes you can be, add to, but I just tried to be a professional, and I want to be as good as I can be, and make the best hand I can anywhere I go. And I've always been that way. Of course, I've always been competitive. I've roped and rodeoed and all those things too as a kid, but you just want to be good, and I have fun here. I have fun with Chris Lacey, the boss here. Sometimes he'll ask me, well, are you this or that? And Chris is real serious, and how you mounted? And I said, Chris, like always, I'm always mounted just a little bit better than you are. Oh, and it just burns you, But 9% of the time I am. You better not put that on there. But anyway, he'll laugh.
Tough trailers built for tough country. Big Ben Trailers manufactures a different kind of trailer, one that's built to put up with the rough conditions found on the ranch. Rugged build using heavy-gauge powder-coated steel and a 2x4 rectangle tube frame. There's a 1-inch gap between the side and floor, so there's no place for water or manure to accumulate and rust. Big Ben trailers are loaded with standard features: a lever-action hitch, a 3-foot escape gate, and a middle sorting gate, rhino lining along the front edges, and a receiver hitch to tow another trailer, chute, or other equipment. Tough and practical. That's Big Ben Trailers, designed and built by a working cattleman. You can rely on and trust Big Ben Trailers for their durability and convenient features. Reasonably priced for any rancher to afford. For a list of dealers and other design features, visit BigBenTrailers.com. Big Ben Trailers, built cattlemen tough.
American cowboys are known for being hardworking, tough, and true. At the end of everyone's life, we all ride off into that sunset of eternity when answering to our Creator. It won't matter how we measure up by our standards, but how we measure up to Christ. Have you asked Jesus to take the reins of your life? To locate or start a cowboy church near you, visit AmericanFCC.org.
And you know, there's probably going to be some young people watching this show. You got any words of cowboy wisdom you'd like to share with them? Maybe they might want to grow up and be a cowboy someday, or maybe they live in a city and there's not any of this kind of country around. What kind of words would you give them?
It doesn't make any difference whether you're a cowboy or not, but when you take a job, you do the best job you possibly can for that boss and treat him fair. If you can't stand his the work you're doing or him, then you give him decent notice and leave, but never badmouth an outfit you're drawing a check from, and never scotch on a job.
All right, well, we've just finished working a set of calves this morning, gathering a pasture, which is a big old pasture, and this rim rock really serves as a fence up here. So, I mean, this is huge, vast, hard country with hard horses and hard men. And this is as rough, raw, and real as it gets in the cowboy culture. I'll say this, if anybody's looking for a sure enough good horse, I'd really would recommend the Coconut. You know, after riding some of their horses, they've got some amazing horses and some great breeding. And man, the country that these horses that they go over, and the rocks, and I mean, they're just absolutely just phenomenal animals. But I'm just going to let you know that, man, places like this, what a privilege it is for us to see it. And what a privilege it is to actually be here and to be a part of this. This is truly cowboy authentic at its best.
Thanks for watching, and you can find us at cowboyauthentic.com. Like us on Facebook. If you'd like to see some sneak previews of our upcoming shows, go to YouTube and you can watch those there. And if you've got any questions about Cowboy Church, maybe you're interested in starting one, contact the American FCC.org. That's the American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches. This is Cowboy Authentic.